The very first thing that we are going to discuss today is going to be that Elon Musk met with Netanyahu in Israel. Not only that, but he also walked around Israel looking at all of the after effects of some of the war that happened there. And this article says Israel tells Elon Musk Starlink can only operate in Gaza with its approval. So now Elon Musk, after putting up Starlink in Ukraine, after putting up Starlink over Gaza, after being the savior to all of these citizens when there's a war breaking out and the commanding force shuts off their access to the internet to do God knows what, now he's given in. So Netanyahu is going to be telling Elon Musk whether he can or cannot activate their internet with Starlink. So this article says, Israel tells Elon Musk Starlink can only operate in Gaza with its approval. It says entrepreneur meets country's leaders amid fervor over alleged anti-Semitism on his social platform X. Not sure that's what it was exactly about. But it says Israel has told Elon Musk his Starlink satellite network will only be allowed to operate in Gaza with its approval. As the entrepreneur met with country's leaders amid a furor, F-U-R-O-R-E, over alleged anti-Semitism on his social platform X. The world's richest man declared that last month that his satellite internet service Starlink would support connectivity to internationally recognized aid organizations in Gaza. Seems like a good thing to do, right? If there's a massive war going on and one of the sides decides to shut off all access to the internet, not only does it do that, but it cuts off their messaging between people in families locally. It cuts off their access to the outside world, so they can't post videos of things that are going on there. I don't know, by maybe some organization that's dropping bombs on them or doing terrible things to them. Or, I don't know, just everyday things, right? Phone connectivity, internet, work, all of that stops when you can't access the internet. So originally what happened is Elon Musk came in just like he did in Ukraine and said, okay, you guys can battle this out, but you're not going to eliminate one person's access to the world. So he has Starlink. And if you don't know anything about Starlink, it's basically satellites. I'm pretty sure Elon Musk has more satellites than any country now, something like that. But Starlink is a way that he can turn on and turn off access to Wi-Fi and the internet for anybody in the world, basically at any given time, just by utilizing his satellites. And so it says the world's richest man declared late last night that his satellite internet service Starlink would support connectivity to internationally recognized aid organizations in Gaza, which has suffered lengthy blackouts under Israel's bombardment. But on Monday, Israeli communication minister Shlomo Kari posted on X that the entrepreneur had reached a principal understanding with the ministry and has said now that Starlink units can only be operated in Israel with the approval of the Israeli Ministry of Communication, including the Gaza Strip. Now, what that's saying is that you have to listen to the words carefully and read between the lines here. It says Starlink satellite units can only be operated in Israel. In Israel, okay, with the approval of the Israeli Ministry of Communications, including the Gaza Strip. Which means that within this tweet itself, they were already claiming ownership to Gaza, already saying that that is our territory, already saying that that is a part of Israel. And we'll go ahead and we'll watch some videos here shortly where there's some pretty interesting conversations by one of my favorite political commentators. And he kind of discussed the background of Israel, the background of the Ottoman Empire and Palestine, and all of the things that kind of led up to this disputed territory, which I found to be really interesting. So we'll pull that up in just a minute and listen to that. But it goes on to say that Musk has not yet publicly confirmed any deal. The SpaceX and Tesla chief executive is visiting the Jewish state for the first time since Hamas's October 7th assault on southern Israel, which killed 1,200 people and triggered a war between Israel and the militant group, this says. Israel's ferocious retaliatory bombardment and siege of the Strip has created a humanitarian crisis, killing more than 13,300 people and led to prolonged blackouts. These have obstructed rescue efforts, notably by preventing ambulances from reaching or from locating wounded people. Now, the interesting thing about that is like they want to say that it's not controlled by Israel, but then they can cut off their water, they can cut off their electricity, they can cut off their access to internet. What about that says that you're not controlled by somebody? Because it seems to me that if somebody has access to, to shut off your water, if somebody can shut off your electricity, if somebody can shut off your ability to drive on roads, if somebody can shut off your ability to access the internet or the world, it seems like that's pretty much control, right? And they want to say that it's not controlled by Israel already, but it doesn't exactly seem to be the case. It seems pretty well controlled. After appearing to endorse an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory in which a White House spokesperson said was abhorrent, Musk has been forced to defend himself from charges of discrimination. Wow, I can't read today. Nothing could be further from the truth, he said in X. I wish only for the best for humanity. I wonder what this conspiracy theory could have been. A video released by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office showed Musk wearing a flak jacket as he toured burnt-out homes in Afar Azi, a kibbutz devastated by the militant group's assault, taking pictures on his mobile phone. Actions speak louder than words, Musk posted cryptically on X after the visit. Musk's initial commitment to enable Starlink in Gaza was followed by telecommunications blackouts in the enclave, which sparked a spat by the Israeli government, which argued with the connectivity would be used by Hamas for terrorist activities. Yeah, just like basically everything and anything they ever want to stop as a government, they can just say is, used for terrorist activities, right? Like anybody who, as we'll find out later, followed Donald Trump is now on a list somewhere, liked any of his tweets, retweeted any of his tweets. Any single person who did that on Twitter is now on a list from the Department of Justice. Anybody who was there on January 6th protesting, whether they walked into the Capitol and got a museum tour by the local police or not, is now on some terrorist watch list, right? They can say whatever they want. That's the hard thing with like language and the way that what language can be weaponized, right? Go back and read 1984, right? When you can take a singular word like terrorist and start to apply it to anything and anything that doesn't agree with the government's narrative, that becomes a huge issue, right? It's like when all the liberals were calling everybody Nazis. It just loses its venom after so long. So like I agree. Hamas, what they did was an act of terrorism. Obviously, terrible. Don't do that. But when you start saying that the people that were walking through the Capitol on January 6th were also domestic terrorists, it's just factually incorrect, right? You can't, every time you use that word in a way that it's not meant to be used or a way that is not legitimate, it loses its sting, right? So when you say that, we're putting up all these cameras on highways to stop terrorism. We're doing it to stop mass shooters. We're doing it to stop violent criminals, right? Well, like we talked about in our last episode, all the cameras that are going up on every single highway in America. We're doing it for your safety. Like, don't worry about us. We would never spy on you. We would never follow and track you and see where you're going. We would never do that. It's just for those bad guys over there that, you don't agree with our opinions on politics. It's, all of the terrorism talk that's happened domestically has just really caused the venom of that word to be questioned. Right. So it says Starlink, part of Musk's rockets and satellite company SpaceX, uses a constellation of Earth orbiting satellites to beam internet connectivity into places where traditional access to the web is difficult. Musk has provided Starlink equipment to Ukraine's front line with Russia. The Starlink signal is received through small satellite dishes called terminals, but Musk said in October that no terminals had actually attempted to connect from the besieged Gaza. And so I was on board with that. I'm on board with that 100%. I don't think that, I think that in today's age, when we can give access to these things, I believe that it's absolutely something that everybody should have access to. If you have the ability to beam it onto the earth, which apparently we do, why wouldn't we want anybody and everybody in the country to, or in the world to have access to that, right? You should. It gives you access to the ability to conduct work. It gives you access to the ability to communicate worldwide, to be in the know of what's happening, right? To know literally everything. It should be basically a right that you have internet today. Now, maybe you should pay for it if you're in a place that's like the United States, where you can have a job and be a functioning member of society, but maybe eventually not. Like, but why should we have to pay for internet? Why isn't it just considered a, utility bill at some point? But anyways, I digress. Here we go. The article continues on and says, see if we can get this to be full screen here, and says that Musk's visit to Israel coincides with the last day of the 4-day pause in hostilities and comes as advertisers pile pressure on X over a rise in anti-Semitism on the platform, after appearing to endorse an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, which a White House spokesperson said. Let's see if we can find that out. Let's see. Musk tweet anti-Semitic. That should be easy enough. Conspiracy tweet. Let's see what comes up for that. It says analysis with anti-Semitic tweet. Elon Musk reveals his actual truth. This comes from CNN.com, so should be a good one. Here we go. It says Elon Musk has publicly endorsed an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory popular among white supremacists, this says on CNN, that Jewish communities push hatred against whites. That kind of overt thumbs up to an anti-Semitic post shocked even some of Musk's critics, who have long called him out for using racist and otherwise bigoted dog whistles on Twitter, known as X. It was the multi-billionaire's most explicit public statement yet, endorsing anti-Jewish views. Let's see. It says that Jewish communities, Musk was responding to a post Wednesday that said Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of dialectical hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. The post has also referenced hordes of minorities flooding Western countries, a popular anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. What is anti-Semitic about hordes of minorities flooding Western countries? Seems to be factual when you're talking about the southern border. I just wanted to see if I could see the tweet, but apparently they're not going to link it here because they're afraid you'll actually read into it. Let's see if this is it. Nope. So it doesn't sound the way that they can twist somebody's words and say, oh, they push hatred against white people, which, you follow the money in a lot of these places, may be factually true. But anyways, it says nothing could be further from the truth, he said on X. A video released by Prime Minister Netanyahu's office showed Musk wearing a flak jacket. Just discussed that. Actions speak louder than words. Discussed that. Discussed what Starlink is. The Starlink signal is received through small satellite dishes called terminals, but Musk said in October that no terminals had actually been attempted to connect from besieged Gaza, and Israel controls the movement of goods into the coastal enclave. During the 7-week war, Israel has at times reportedly cut communications to the Strip. I wonder why they would do that. And I think that ceasefire is gone now, isn't it? All right, moving on. Biden reportedly offers an apology to Muslim American leaders for questioning the Hamas death toll. We talked about this last time, where Biden was saying that he did not agree with the death toll coming from Palestinian health organizations. And now he's walking back those statements because obviously there's been a tremendous amount of death, a tremendous amount of of bombs that have been dropped in Palestine, a tremendous amount of men, women, and children that have died as a result of the actions of Israel. Factual. Go, I don't know, fly a drone over there. Like, look at the destruction that has happened in the videos, and who's to say whether that's completely accurate or not, but it's absolutely true that there has been a massive amount of death for men, women, and children in Palestine. So Biden is now recognizing that, apologizing, saying he's quote unquote, I believe, let's see if we can get the full article. Oh, we gotta subscribe, folks. Let's find a different one. Now, my favorite news connector is Ground News. And we can go here and let's go Biden offers apology. Now, if you go to Ground News, what it does for you, and I would highly recommend educating yourself on this platform because I absolutely love it. So I'll just give you a breakdown what this looks like. It's ground.news, and they give you the headline, they give you the top 3 points, and then they tell you the bias of the news distribution. So what percentage has been reporting on this? 41% of the sources that are reporting on this lean right? Of those, there's 2 that are center, 61% biased. 61%. I'm just blind. And then they give you all of the articles. So then you can sort and sift through those articles. You can say you can look at all of them. You can look at the left-leaning articles. You can look at the right-leaning articles. You can look at the center articles. Then it gives you the factuality of each one of those and who owns those media companies. So it's like basically anything and everything that you would want out of the actual reporting. So it gives factuality scores, ownership scores, like whoever is responsible for this just does an absolute tremendous job. It's incredible. All right, so here it is. It says, this is coming from the Daily Post, and it says, Israel-Palestinian war. I'm disappointed in myself, Biden says, as he apologizes over comments on Gaza. Now, obviously, like we talked about, it's not Gaza in general. What a terrible headline. But here's what it says. It says, United States President Joe Biden has apologized to some prominent Muslim American leaders over his public questioning of the Palestinian death number reported by the Hamas-controlled Gaza Ministry of Health. Right? And again, it's like you just have to watch out for the framing on this because I don't know. I've never done research on the Gaza Ministry of Health, but they just like frivolously throw that out there to delegitimize the numbers. And now he's apologizing for it, right? So they tried to shoo it away as saying, oh, that's what the terrorists said. We don't believe the terrorists. You're not a terrorist, are you? You're a flag-loving American. Right? Maybe not flag-loving, because then nowadays that makes you a terrorist anyways. But you see what I'm saying, right? Like just listen to the framing. Biden, according to the New York Post, made the apology at a meeting with the 5 Muslim American leaders the day after his October 25th comments on reported Gaza deaths, vowing to do better. Biden told the group, I'm sorry, I'm so disappointed in myself, Biden said, when he heard the leaders describe individuals they knew who were personally affected by the conflict. Before the press conference, Biden had openly questioned the accuracy of the casualty figures from Gaza, given Hamas's terror track record. The president was smeared with criticism at home as he made great efforts to pressure Israel to minimize civilian casualties. He said, I have no notion that the Palestinians are telling the truth about how many people are killed. I'm sure innocents have been killed, and it's the price of waging war, he said. Wow. Is that the price of waging war? As you kill innocent people? According to data from the Hamas-controlled Ministry of Health, more than 14,000 Palestinians in Gaza, including many women and children, have been killed in the conflict. Meanwhile, Israel has suffered more than 1,200 fatalities, almost a tenth, less than a tenth, mostly civilians who were killed when the terror group launched a massive attack on Israel in October. The Muslim American leaders who have met with Joe Biden pleaded with him to show more empathy for the Palestinians. So here's something that I see I find this to be pretty interesting. You go to almost any major account right now. Now there's a few people who are actually honest and truthful, but you see a lot of mainstream media accounts, a lot of mainstream influencers, a lot of conservative voices just giving the most egregious points on the Palestinian conflict. Like you go to PragerU right now, you go to, go listen to Ben Shapiro. You hear them literally saying word for word that the reason or that the blood of Palestinian children and women is on the hands of Hamas, not on the hands of Israel, who actually bombed them, but it's on the hands of Hamas because, they did this to us first, so they deserved it, right? Like we're almost word for word verbatim what both Dennis Prager and Ben Shapiro had said about this. Almost verbatim, like literally go find it. Then they'll say, oh, Hiroshima was something that just had to be done. We had to murder an entire city and block of a mile of people in order to stop this war. It's like, no, Well, what should we do? Well, maybe send special forces in there and take them out. Like, don't just bomb the children. And that's what's so funny about this argument, that like, oh, Hamas is shielding themselves with women and children. And instead of, trying to wait for a sniper to have a good eye on the target so that they can kill just the terrorists behind them, right? Like their point is that, oh, they use women and children as human shields. They use human shields. How egregious. How much of a terrorist are they for using human shields? And it's like, okay, you don't use human shields. You just bomb the women and children regardless without any thought to it. It's like, which one's worse? Just endlessly bombing women and children without any say or reason why, really, and or using somebody as a human shield. They're equally bad, because in both scenarios, somebody dies who was innocent. Equally bad. Right, but they've probably done government think tanks and had massive surveys where they found out that if you say the human shield buzzword, that now all of a sudden people are on your side. Right, it's like you definitely can't use human shields. Just bomb them all.